You're listening to the Undisputed Wrestling Show on the Angry Marks Podcast Network, featuring the Bearded Wonder Zane Paisley, Sign Guy, Drew Skills, and the Morning Star, William Huckabee.
The Undisputed Wrestling Show is now. This is one of your hosts, the Bearded Wonder Zane Paisley. I've also got on the line with us tonight our other hosts for the evening, the incredible Huck, Will Huckabee. How are you doing tonight?
I'm really good, man. I'm so surprised to hear your voice. It's been so long since I've actually talked to you.
I know.
I almost forgot what you sounded like.
Well, and we also have on another host tonight. We have the Pacific Northwest referee extraordinaire, Kevin Sullivan's favorite referee, Sign Guy. Sign Guy, how are you this evening?
Not doing too badly this evening, Zane.
Excellent, excellent. Well, without any further ado, I do want to introduce our first guest for the evening, all the way from gorgeous ladies of wrestling, all the way from Newport Beach, California, Sunny the California Girl. How are you doing this evening, Sunny?
I'm doing great, and I can honestly say, guys, it's really shining bright, and it's a scorching hot, sunny day. Or should I say almost evening here with plenty of fires surrounding us. That's the part that's a bit cloudy.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on with us tonight, and I know that we don't have a whole lot of time with you, so I wanted to get started with, you started in season 3 of Glow, but how did you get started in your love of professional wrestling? Did you have any family members that were interested in it?
Yeah, actually, my father was a good friend of all the wrestlers, and we would go to the Olympic Auditorium to see them wrestle, and I was, obviously I was too young to remember when I was wearing the Destroyer's mask and diapers, and that was the original mask. I was about 3 months old, but my memory as of 5 years old, it was myself, my brother, and my mom and dad. Now, my mom wasn't too fond of it, but she would go, and I think after a few matches, she started to like it. But we would go there to the Olympic Auditorium here in downtown Los Angeles and watch matches all the time. Freddie Blassie and all those guys, the old school wrestlers, Harbaugh, Hager. Oh, my God. Freddie Blassie and his cane scared the crap out of me. I just got to tell you, coming out of the cage. But how I got into Glow was my father once again watching this show on television with all these women on there. I'm like, what are you doing? You know, he calls me out of my room. I was a model before I went into wrestling, guys. I was a swimwear model, a track runner, you know, a tomboy. You have to be kind of a tomboy to be a female pro wrestler, right? So that was me. I was a challenging type of girl. Any guy would want to play basketball, baseball, I wouldn't say no. I was like, yeah, let's do it. And they'd look at me and go, yeah, right, I've got this. And I would just totally kill them in it. And they're like, wait a minute, not this thin girl. She's a tough chick. So, you know, obviously I took a beating in Glow, but yeah, we went to audition. My father was watching Glow on television, and they put the audition interview thing on the end of the show where it says, come audition to Las Vegas. And my father said, just watch it. Let's just see what they're doing. And I'm like, I can't do that. These girls will kill me. They were all different sizes, shapes, and, you know, characters. And I was like, no way, Dad. I mean, I can act, but I can't do that. That's acting and, you know, that's a physical sport. And they're just flipping each other around. And I'm like, oh, my God. So we watched it to the end, and he talked me into seeing my headshot and my resume and, you know, all my experience that I've had. And I did. And they called me in for, you know, an interview. And that's how Sunny got started. And back then I was blonde and tan, like Hulk Hogan. If you see my character, I was exactly the female version of good old Terry, of Hulk Hogan. So, which I lost more than he did, obviously. You know? Yeah. This baby face got beat up all the time. I was the dingy blonde. And how I got that, which went into the knock-knock joke of my character when I would go to the ring and sing that, was that I loved to sing. And Matt Simber, who was the director of Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, compared me to his ex-wife, Jane Mansfield, which I did not see when I went there. I had no clue. I was so naive. I'm like, I know Marilyn Monroe, Jane Mansfield, and that was your ex-wife? Wow, so he goes, yeah, and you look just like her. I go, really? Yeah, so that's kind of the molding and the, how Sonny became Sonny. And the rest is history.
I'm going to kick it over to Sign Guy, because I know he has more questions about the knock-knock jokes.
Okay.
Well, thank you for being with us, Sonny. And I do have a question about the knock-knock jokes. Were those something that you came up with yourself, or did you have people that wrote them for you each episode to tie in with the opponent on a given episode?
That is exactly what happened. We had writer Steve Blanche, amazing writer, silly, and he came up with each knock-knock joke, like thanks for the memories, which also it tied in with Corporal Kelly, but it also had a sentimental value to Las Vegas, which is where we were out of, was Las Vegas. So anything, if you've noticed, some of my knock-knocks had a tie into that. So Bob Hope, thanks for the memories. Or I did Frank Sinatra or whatever. Dean Martin. They were all a little corny, but it tied in with each opponent. Yes. No, gosh, me to write knock-knock jokes? Who knows? As many times as I've been dropped on my head, I can't even remember half of them. But, yeah.
Obviously, there was a kind of a niche crowd, niche audience at the time. Yeah. Did you keep up with what was going on as far as the mainstream wrestling promotions, and did you ever have any contact with any of them about trying to wrestle for other organizations?
Yes, I did. I mean, I was contacted to even wrestle in Japan, which some of the girls did from Glow, but I honestly, my love was broadcasting. And so, I did wrestle. My last match actually was in 2011, and that was with Hollywood, and a few other matches where fans call us out. They want to, pay us money to wrestle in the STJ Studios, which is in Los Angeles, and a lot of the indie female wrestlers go there and do shots and whatnot. But that was the last time. I trained a bunch of girls for another wrestling promotion called the Phoenix Firebirds, and that was something else, I think, West Coast Phoenix Firebirds, which I had one day to do it in. And all these girls were new, and they had no wrestling ability except for maybe two. So that was kind of interesting and fun. I loved it, but it was challenging to get these girls in a match and up and ready. I've seen a lot of the indie matches. I go there as a guest because I love and appreciate it. Those guys work their butts off, and I've seen some of the best, amazing wrestlers. Incredible. Yeah, but my love is broadcasting. So I'm actually on a political talk radio. Brian Blair, who's the president of the Cauliflower Alley Club, I don't know if you've heard of him. He's also on a Friday night segment on our show, but I speak of politics and wrestling. And I've been doing that for 5 years. Before that, I was critiquing SmackDown. And you guys know Raw and SmackDown, of course. I had to watch that every Friday and critique it. And then we went on AfterBuzz TV. Myself with Rick Drayson, who was the Equalizer way back. Another old school wrestler out of Bakersfield.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, Sign Guy, but when she said something about politics, what was your thought about the indie wrestler that had a black opponent and he screamed out, "Black lives don't matter"? Did you hear about that story?
I did not, but that's horrible because I say all lives matter, and that's the problem with this world. We're just getting uglier and uglier with hate and racism and a lot of negativity, and it's really sad. But no, do tell me. I would be so interested.
Oh, it was, they agreed upon it in the back, but it caused quite a stir in that promotion. So next time we have you on, I want a complete and full, detailed analysis of it. Since you are the political expert on it. Yes, I would love that. Now, was that locally where you guys are, or is it another state, or where did this happen? I'll see if I can find it. I'll let Sign Guy take back over. Okay. Hello. Hi, darling.
Hello. Now, Sonny, you wrestled with Glow for quite some time, and Glow got a lot of notoriety. They did the Family Feud. every year for several years. They did a lot of entertainment shows, a lot of cameo appearances on different sitcoms and so forth. Did you ever get outside work from being in Glow specifically?
I would say I got recognition from being a Glow girl, a character after that. Right after Glow went off, as you know, it ended, I had a show called Battling Beauties, where I starred on the strip as Sunny Summerland, who was original, the California girl, California doll, they billed me as, which was a lot of fun. I had Benny, who was a referee in Gorgeous Days of Wrestling. He's the one that built our wrestling ring. And I came out and emceed the show and sang I Wish They All Could Be California Girls, David Lee Roth song. And again, I trained the girls for that, and I won in those matches, just to let you know. But here was the kicker. It was oil wrestling, but pro wrestling. It wasn't rolling around like mud wrestling or anything. It was straight pro wrestling, but in oil. So you talk about being difficult, and in a smaller ring, because it wasn't a full-size rope-to-rope ring. It was much smaller, but the audience loved it. And, of course, it was primarily men. But that was a blast, and that was a good billing. Battling Beauties lasted about 6 months, and it was set off on one of the hotels that, of course, is no longer there because, as you know, Vegas changed so much, and they've actually torn down the Riviera Hotel where we were. So the nostalgia is always in our hearts, but, you know, Vegas is now totally different, and it's very sad. However, we're coming back next year, and we're being honored at the CAC at the Cauliflower Alley year. So we're very, very thankful and very happy that finally all of us girls are getting our recognition.
Well, I would like to now pass things over to the incredible Will Huckabee.
Right, Will, what do you have for Sunny the California Girl?
Oh, well, first of all, I was going to say thank you for being on the show. And I was going to ask you because on Netflix, obviously they're doing a special and stuff, and they're doing a series of shows about Glow Wrestling and about the ladies and stuff. What is your opinion overall about the show that's coming out on Netflix?
Well, there's opinion, all right. We're not sure exactly what's happening because there's so much controversy since Ursula, who was Babe the Farmer's daughter, who took over just the name of Glow, Gorgeous Days of Wrestling. And I'm going to go ahead and say it because it's pretty much a known fact now since Glow went off the air. That was one of the reasons why we're not on anymore, or what happened to the Glow movie that was supposed to happen back then, was that she had an affair with Rickless Meshulam, who owned Gorgeous Days of Wrestling, who owned Fabergé Brut, and he owned the Riviera Hotel. So that be told, that marriage with him and Pia Zadora, which he was married to at the time of the affair with Ursula, that was it. That was done. Over. That's how Glow ended. And through that, Ursula was able to, I guess, inherit the Glow name, if you will. A lot of stuff got destroyed. A lot of us never got any recognition from there. She tried to do numerous things with Glow as the Glow owner and failed. And I guess she succeeded recently with Genji Cohen of the Orange is the New Black and everything. So, you know, that's what she's doing. Now, the Glow premises for the show is, my understanding, it's a script that she has, and that they're going to show clips of us Glow girls, which I happen to own my Sunny the California Girl name. I was one of the smart ones that copywritten it a while ago, my character. So I don't know about the other girls, but some of the girls are saying, hey, we're back on TV. That's cool. Even though, you know, we're not going to get any money from this. We're not. She got a great sum of money.
Ooh.
As selling us Glow girls to the network. You understand? So a lot of us girls aren't too thrilled. Some don't care. I happen to be a businesswoman, and I say that's wrong, you know? So, yeah. But, I mean, again, as we say, all publicity or anything is publicity, so let it be. But We're all anxious to find out what's going to happen.
Well, I understand that and stuff. And my next question was because, you know, when Glow was really hot and stuff, you know, you ladies revolutionized professional wrestling. It was totally different than any other wrestling show that was out right now and stuff. And as a female wrestler, I really wanted to ask you your opinion about today's modern-day wrestling revolution. Of course, we've seen yesterday on WWE Raw and stuff a very fantastic match between Sasha Banks and Charlotte. But I wanted to ask you, what was your opinion about women's wrestling now and how it's presented and everything?
It's a lot different. I think some of the girls are great athletes. Natalya, I love Natalya. And good for Sasha Banks, by the way, for winning that. I watched the ending. It was a strong ending. I think the selling part of matches is taken away in WWE. They're too fast. They go in, they just kill it. One move after another. There is no, the momentum's too fast. There is no selling. And that's what the audience loves, is the selling. It's like wow, like Beastie bit my ear off in my match. And that's what they go crazy from all ages, from little kids to, 80-year-olds that are in the audience. They love that stuff. I don't see that in the new wrestling. In some of the indie wrestling, yes, but on WWE, to me, I can't really watch too much of it anymore. Yeah, it's not the same, guys. Old school wrestling, to me, that's wrestling. And not just because I was in it, but the ones before us, the ones in the 60s. You know what I mean? That's hardcore wrestling. That's real wrestling. And not to discount like the new gang at all. Don't get me wrong. I mean, hey, I watched the show, the Divas. I watched their little reality show. Some of it was good. Some of it was like, oh my gosh. What's your opinion on all of it, from what we had back in the day to what's current? I like to get everyone's point of view.
Well, me personally and stuff, I think that the ladies now are a lot more athletic. It's more wrestling based. And they don't try to use as much TNA as they did, especially in the 90s and stuff. So me, myself, I'm personally glad that they're actually treating these females as actual legitimate competitors and stuff, and not so much just window dressing to get, 18 to 24-year-old males into the building.
Right. Exactly. Yes, I agree. I do agree.
Now, before I pass it back to Zane, I was actually excited to talk to you and stuff, and we have a mutual friend. So Evangelina told me to tell you hello. And before you leave, if you have any funny stories about hanging out with her and stuff after Zane talks to you, she said please feel free to share. So,
absolutely. Evangelina? I love Evangelina. Yes. Is it Angelina or Evangelina?
Evangelina.
Evangelina, yes. Well, we always have some good stories. We just did a RuPaul story, and we were all at the RuPaul. And I love that girl. She's full of energy. She came up behind me and gave me a big squeeze because I was complaining about my shirt in the sun, and it made me look fat. She came around and grabbed me by her arms and held on, and we did this pose where she's holding my stomach. And I'm like, okay, that's a good picture. Take that. Yeah, she's a really sweet girl. She's been through a lot. From what I heard. I don't get to see her much, but I will see her at the CAC, and I wish she could come on the Glow Cruise, which we're having, the Afterglow Fan Party Cruise. This is our second one out, by the way. I'm sure she filled you in on that, but it's a lot of fun. You guys should come on the cruise.
Well, tell us more about that.
It is out of New Orleans, or New Orleans, however you guys want to say it there, and it leads to the Caribbean. There's so many ways to say that, but it goes out for 7 days on the Norwegian cruise line, and it's the Dawn, it's called. And it's, to my understanding, a new fresh cruise boat. In other words, they rehabbed it, and it's going out now, which is a good thing, so we're not the first ones to test this cruise line. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's with all of us Glow Girls. There's 12 of us Glow Girls that are on, and you get to have a lot of fun in the sun and get to know all of us up close and personal on a cruise. And we have many events. This is going to be February 12th through the 19th. One of the events is Valentine's Day, a prom dance. and we have a special guest, which is a super cool 80s band. So it's all about fun-filled 80s events on there, and it's really cool. Our first one we just had, and we came back, and we're super, super excited for the second one because we have wonderful fans that went on the first one who rebooked to go on the second one, and they're flying all over to just go. You know, of course, we're flying out this time. This one, the first one was local out of Long Beach on the Carnival cruise. And we got to meet all our fans, and now they're friends, as I call them, family. And that's FANMILY. And I look forward to it. It's going to be super exciting. And then we have the Cauliflower Alley Club, where Christy will be there, which is Evangelina, and many other Glow Girls. And we're all getting honored. Yay! I'm awesome. So excited.
How can our listeners find out more about the Afterglow Cruise?
They can actually go on the Afterglow Fan Party Cruise site on Facebook. I believe there's on, I don't know if Roxy's got it up on LinkedIn, but, you know, it's pretty much everywhere on our sites. We push the cruise on each one of our sites, and Gremlina, Roxy, myself. We put up the flyer and we run it through. So you'll see it out there everywhere on social media. And you can also go to the site and register, which is, I think it's the Cruise Fun Time. I don't know. Let me see. I can look it up because I got a card too right here to make sure where you go to register. And all you have to do is register, and up until the end of this month, which we're almost there, it's $175 only to register. And you get free drink packages and all the good goodies with it if you do before the end of July. And let's see here. Is it
afterglow@sea.com?
Yeah, it's 80safterglow@sea.com. Yep.
Excellent. Excellent. And how can our listeners follow what you're doing? What's your social media?
I'm Patricia. I actually have my fan page and my real name, which is Patricia J. Summerland. And I seem to have a lot of more fans on there because I have other things as well as Glow, so they join on for other numerous things that I do. I'm in charity events. In fact, I've got one Thursday for the kids. And I'll be at the Rainbow Club in Los Angeles on Sunset for that. 9 o'clock. MTV will be with me. And many other numerous things. I have an event in Fresno that I'm doing. It's the Collecticon, like the Comic-Con, but Collecticon. It's a smaller venue, but it's a lot of fun. I love doing it, and I'll be there signing autographs. So Patricia J. Summerlin, and then the fan page is Sunny the California Girl.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you need to let the fans know before we have to let you go?
Just know that we appreciate and love all our fans, and thank you for enjoying Glow all these years and giving us love and bringing us back to the forefront, because that is what's really precious to all of us girls, especially me. I love my fans, and thank God for them, because we wouldn't have been nothing, guys. I mean, on television, the ratings would have been nothing. But they loved us Glow Girls, and we're here to give back to them now. And that's what we're doing on the cruise and at events. You get to see us as we are now. Everyone goes, Sunny, you're not blonde anymore. I'm like, no, it's been 30 years. But this is my original color. I am a brunette, and everyone's a bit shocked at that. But they go, oh, no, you're Sunny, because that's me. I'm always smiling. And I always, I wish the whole world would smile every day with me and stop this hate and this race, the shooting and the racism and the cop shooting, all this crap that's going on in this world, Get this hatred out. And hopefully the new president can do that as well. But that's for next time. And I'd love, by the way, to do your radio show again. Once I get a little bit more time, we can definitely talk up a storm.
We appreciate that.
So, it was a pleasure doing your show, guys.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate having you on this evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'll give you a sunny hug and a sunny smile. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Sign guy, you got to talk knock-knock jokes with Sunny the California Girl.
She even covered the classic Tanks for the Memories one.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. And who knew that Sunny the California Girl, a.k.a. Patricia Summerlin, was so busy with so many different projects? That's awesome.
A lot of the Glow girls very active. A lot of them have a lot of projects going on in the world of wrestling and outside of it. So always good to hear that they're doing well, because it's been a while since Glow was in the forefront, I think.
Now, Will, you had mentioned your friend Evangelina. Tell our listeners a little about her.
Her name's, of course, Evangelina, one of the original Glow girls. She was the one with the nun outfit, and of course, all of her rhymes and stuff. Her little rap was always, religious inspired, and was damning people to hell and stuff. But I actually met her when I was at NWA Blue Collar and stuff. She actually came out to the show because she was very excited to see the match between me and Bad Blood. And she came out to the show and we met and stuff, and we've actually stayed pretty good friends and stuff through social media and everything since then. So when I told her that we were interviewing Sonny, she was very excited about it and wanted me to tell her hello and stuff. And I didn't want to ruin the surprise with Sonny, and hopefully she doesn't listen to this part of the show. But Evangelina is actually going to be on the cruise coming up this coming February and stuff. I just didn't want to ruin the surprise for her, nothing yet.
Well, then we definitely need to get a cabin on there.
Oh, you ever see a wrestling show cabin?
No.
Huh?
What? I've never stayed in a wrestling show cabin.
I don't know if they're ready for all six of us. Was it five or six of us and stuff in like 2 or 3 cabins and stuff on a cruise ship for 7 days?
Well, an interior stateroom is only $629 per person.
Yeah.
And Ocean View stateroom is only $879 per person. So yeah, we should check it out.
You know what? Actually, if I don't buy any of my kids Christmas this year, I can actually swing that.
Yeah. Free drinks, including alcohol on the cruise. So I think that we should go.
We should definitely talk about that after we get off the show and stuff. We should talk about all of us, or a couple of us, actually doing the cruise and think about all the crazy amount of interviews that we can get and stuff on that show, on that cruise. That would be fun. That Black Lives Don't Matter story that I was talking about, it took place in July of this year in St. Louis, and there's more information about it on ProWrestlingSheet.com if any of our listeners want to look at that information. So, Will, how was your weekend? Let's try. Like I said, I was at Shockwave Wrestling in my hometown of Havelock, North Carolina. And a buddy of mine, fabulous Frankie Fontaine, who actually helped train me when I first got into the business. He actually had his last match after 15 years of being in professional wrestling. He's still going to be around as far as management and helping out with the creative teams and stuff for Shockwave Wrestling and helping to train guys and young ladies and stuff. But as far as his in-ring career is concerned, that's basically over. And like you asked me before earlier, Zane, no, he did take his boots off in the ring, which is a very time-honored tradition, mainly because so many of the fans got to the ring to give him hugs and stuff to say goodbye. And he's a very large guy. And he's still been taking his boots off right now, 3-4 days later. So, it was just a very emotional guys reminiscing and everything and trading stories. And then we all went out and had a couple drinks. What do you have coming up this weekend? Oh, man, I have a very busy 2 weeks, man. If things go according to plan, I'm going to have like 9 shows in 10 days or something like that. That's awesome. Yeah, but this weekend, Friday is PWF in Hubert, North Carolina. It'll be myself and James Drake, who is turned into one of the best wrestlers in the Carolinas and stuff. Me and him are teaming up against a team that, for some strange, crazy reason, just came out of the blue and is just making waves up and down the East Coast everywhere. The Ugly Ducklings, which is Rob Killjoy, Lance Lude, and Colby Carino in one form or another. They have the Freebird rule and stuff going on. I do believe that me and James Drake are facing Rob Killjoy and Lance Lude, who used to be, who back in the day was quite often on ROH and stuff and FIP and everything. And that's Friday. Saturday, I will be in Cornelia, Georgia for While We Wrestle. I'll be taking on a good friend of mine, professional wrestling's only actual male gymnast, Timmy Lou Retton. in Cornelia, Georgia for While We Wrestle, which is the former NWA Anarchy. I love going to Cornelia. I love wrestling in the Church of Southern Wrestling. There's so much history in that building, and you'll never know who's just going to pop by to see a show there. I've been in Cornelia, Georgia and stuff, man, and AJ Styles just randomly popped in, and Dawson and Dash Wilder and stuff from NXT was there one day, and Gunner will pop in, and every once in a while, you'll see some older WCW veteran come in just to check out a show. So I love wrestling there. And then Sunday is my day to give back to wrestling fans. I'm actually doing a birthday party for a kid and stuff at USIWF in Kernersville, North Carolina. Having a birthday party, and turns out I'm one of his favorite wrestlers, so I'm gonna go there and do a show and beat up some people for this kid for his birthday.
That sounds amazing. That sounds super rad. How do you know this young man, other than him being your biggest fan?
I know him and his family and stuff because they come to a lot of wrestling shows, especially on the western side of the state, around the Charlotte, Greensboro area and stuff. I met the kid actually about 2-3 years ago when I was wrestling for a company called Firestar Pro Wrestling. Like my second show there, his dad brought him up to meet me and stuff. It was like, hey, I know you're a bad guy, but my son really likes you and everything. He thinks you're really cool. And I was like, I'm looking at this kid and I'm trying to be a heel, and I'm like, well, you're an idiot. And then basically, they're huge supporters of not just myself, but in the indie wrestling period, a lot of the indie wrestlers and stuff. So it's always cool to give back to fans who support you.
Awesome. I think we got cut off earlier too, Sign Guy. How was your weekend?
It was pretty eventful. I had a lot going on. Saturday night I was at Project 42 in Seattle, Washington, proper at the El Corazon, counted some pinfalls, checked for a few submissions there. And Sunday night I was back at NWA Blue Collar, a bit of a chaotic night, but we were coming off the big shake, rattle, and roll event and continued forward with the momentum. And on the 6th of August, they have Tokyo Monster Kahagas coming to town for the first time in NWA Blue Collar. So lots going on in Portland. Awesome.
Were you the official for the 6-man match featuring Kevin Sullivan and Honky Tonk Man?
I was the official in charge of officiating that match. Pretty chaotic. The new Dungeon of Doom ended up winning that match when the Honky Tonk Man, who was disgusted with his partners from the onset because he accepted their money without realizing whom he was going to be teaming with and or wrestling, he turned against his partners and allowed the Dungeon of Doom to get the W in that.
So tell us again what you got coming up this weekend?
This week I got a couple days off from bookings. We got a couple days, and then I make the big trip next week into Idaho for my debut in the great state of Idaho.
That sounds excellent. This weekend I will be at All-Star Pro Wrestling at the Morristown Derby Days. So big event there at the Derby Days in Morristown, Indiana. You can find out more information about that at morristownderbydays.com. So check that out. Dylan Bostic, who went to Morristown High School, will be the headliner in that event. Should be a great time. So this is the Undisputed Wrestling Show on the Angry Marks Podcast Network. Angry Marks Podcast Network is your home of your favorite professional wrestling and mixed martial arts podcasts, and you can check that out at AngryMarks.com, or if you use the iTunes podcast app, you hit keyword Angry Marks, all one word, Angry Marks, and you can subscribe to that and listen to all your favorite professional wrestling and mixed martial arts show. And if you've got an Android, you can do it through the Double Pod app. So check all that out. Guys, been a big week in professional wrestling. We had the first ever, well, not first ever, but kind of a first ever SmackDown Live last week where they did the draft. And then we had the big pay-per-view. What was it called? Backlash? No, it wasn't Backlash. What was it? What was this past pay-per-view called? Battleground. Battleground is what it was called.
There you go. It's easy to remember. You just remember the city in Washington near the border.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. So we had some big things happening this past week. Just to run it down, Dean Ambrose retained the WWE Championship. Bayley made her main roster debut, even though they did say specifically that it was a one-time only thing and that she'd be back on NXT. As Will had mentioned to the Sunny the California Girl, Sasha Banks won the Women's Championship. And Finn Balor had a huge debut on Raw. So, Will, to you, who was the MVP of this past wrestling weekend on WWE programming?
My MVP would have to be Finn Balor. Not since the Milan Miracle with what's his name?
Santino Marella?
Santino Marella. Has somebody made such a, well, him and then Carlito, has somebody made such a big impact on their first actual debut on Monday Night Raw and stuff. The fact that not only did he win and pin, the United States champion with Rusev and stuff, and then beat Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and Claudio and stuff in the first match, for him to go back and beat, Roman Reigns, to face, Seth Rollins and stuff at was it Battleground, Backlash, whatever the hell it is next?
No,
SummerSlam?
SummerSlam, yeah.
Yeah. The fact that he came out and had two outstanding matches, and then, the reception that he got was just huge. You could tell that was a person, that was a wrestler that fans was definitely waiting, to see make that jump up to the main roster. And I don't feel like he disappointed. I think that, my only complaint is the fact that, he had Roman Reigns in the main event at Raw, and they had to follow that Sasha Banks Charlotte match and stuff, man. That was my only complaint.
Well, we do have coming up from the UIWA, we have Diafullah Dobashi, easy for me to say. It's going to be another great guest here coming up soon. But before we get to him, Sign Guy, who was your MVP of this past weekend on WWE programming?
MVP, I would say, since I haven't seen SmackDown live, I'll just base it on the pay-per-view and last week's programming. I would say maybe Daniel Bryan, just because he seemed to be getting huge reactions, even though he's not going to be in-ring talent. I think that's a good sign for SmackDown. I think he'll be different than a lot of the prior general manager, commissioner, president type of roles they had. I think he's going to bring something a little refreshing to the table for that, and the fans were with him, so I think that made things for SmackDown Live a little bit easier, because when you have the same role and you just assign it to different people, which has been something they've done a lot over the years, we've seen a lot of the same people doing the same role, and they just rehash it. So I think the fact that they responded to Bryan like they did was a good sign for that show.
Now, have you heard him do any commentary on the Cruiserweight Classic yet?
I've not watched a ton of it yet. I need to sit down and watch that more closely. I just watched little spots here and there, but I think he might have found a niche for himself as far as being able to transition away from in-ring. So hopefully that works out for him.
I think he's doing an awesome job on the Cruiserweight Classic with Mauro Ranallo, and I think he's doing great on that. Have you seen any of that, Will?
I've seen the Cruiserweight Classic, man. My homeboy Cedric Alexander, he had a really good first round, and then, his second round match with Kota Ibushi, in my opinion, is going to take a lot for somebody to try to top that match. That was probably the match. That's probably a match of the year candidate and stuff, man. I love Daniel Bryan on commentary.
It hasn't been shown yet. Do you have an advanced copy of this or something?
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Of course, this is wrestling, man. people have cell phones and cameras and everything. And in a situation like that, you know, your friends and stuff, you got, of course, you're going to tell your buddies, like, hey, well, I want to see that match as soon as it happens. So, you know, yes, I've already seen it.
Okay. All right. All right. I'm going to say, since you guys took, Finn Balor and Bryan Danielson, I'm going to say that my MVP of the week was Sasha Banks. Incredible match, with, Charlotte for the championship. You know, probably the best women's match we've had on a Raw since, probably Lita and Trish, had that main event match, and this match might have been better than that. I really wish they would have saved the emotion for SummerSlam. You know, yes, they wanted to pop the ratings for their first, you know, Raw after the, brand split. Excellent match. Wish it would have gotten a little more hype beforehand.
Yes, sir. I would go so far as to say that's probably the best women's match in history.
I wouldn't go that far.
Not too many technical snafus and stuff. Yeah, it that definitely should have been a pay-per-view match and stuff, but I think that them two have such a great chemistry that when they do have the return match and stuff, man, it's going to be better than this one. Did you not notice? Of course, you watch Raw. Both of you gentlemen watch Raw. Did you notice on commentary how big they put the match over? And even Michael Cole so much as saying that might have been the match of the night.
Oh yeah, it definitely was. Yeah, they're really, you know, when they picked Charlotte at the 3rd overall pick, you know, that shows that maybe, was it the 3rd or the 4th? Whatever pick she was in the top 5, and that shows that they really are dedicated to preserving women's wrestling, and so I was very happy with that match last night. So, another thing that they discussed last night is that Raw will now have a new champion, and it is being called the Universal Championship. Sign Guy, what's your thoughts on the name of the Universal Champion?
I was a big fan of Bill Watts' Universal Wrestling Federation.
You know, I didn't realize that WWE was in negotiations of buying the World Wrestling Council. Good move.
Oh, do they already have a Universal Champion?
Yes, indeed, he do.
Title.
Wow.
And I believe Carlito Colon currently holds that one.
Oh, well, who knows? Maybe they'll hire him back. We just found out tonight that Shelton Benjamin will be back on SmackDown, so maybe Carlito will be back soon.
Well, you guys are missing one aspect. They have one of the sons already, and he made his way back to TV last night.
Yes, is that Epico or Primo? I can't remember.
That would be Primo, I believe.
Yes. So who knows?
It's been 2 months since they had him on TV, and as soon as they announced the Universal title, there he is.
That's true. That is true. Will, what's your thoughts on the name of the Universal Championship?
I don't mind it. You know, I don't mind the fact that they're calling it that. I think my biggest pet peeve is the fact that they feel that they need to have. Me, myself, a big proponent that there should only be one champion, and if you're going to be a champion, the champ should work both shows. I know that's a lot of traveling and stuff, but that's how you get paid the big bucks. I think that everybody should push towards being the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And in my opinion, this Universal Champion to me is the same as being the Intercontinental Champion or the U.S. Champion. It's a made-up title with no legacy, no heritage, no nothing, you know. So I don't mind the name. I actually like the name, the WWE Universal Champion. I just don't like the fact that they feel that they need to have a quote-unquote top title in WWE. I actually like the dynamic where they were talking about, hey, the WWE champion got drafted to Raw or got drafted to SmackDown, you know. I like the fact that the brand's trying to fight to bring, you know, titles to their specific brand.
Well, that is a good point. I kind of like the two titles just because if you're on one of the shows that doesn't have the major championship, then you're not really fighting for anything. So I'll be interested to see. I watched a portion of SmackDown tonight. I'll finish it up later on. But I'll be interested to see, they have so many women on SmackDown without a women's title, if they'll create a new championship for the women there, or, what are they fighting for? Because I just don't want to see them fighting over, jealousy or catfight, silly things like that. I want them to go for wins and losses.
What about tag teams? Because the tag team title is exclusive to Raw.
Yeah, same thing.
Well, my opinion, I think that this is where they need to have the ranking system. And like I said, where the champion needs to have the option of working both shows. I don't like they might be, let's say Dean Ambrose is a SmackDown wrestler, but let's say, Seth Rollins is the number one contender for the title based on quote unquote wins and losses, which we know professional wrestling doesn't really mean anything, but they can start making the win-loss record legitimate. You say Seth Rollins is the number one contender to the WWE title. Well, now, Dean Ambrose has to face Seth Rollins, at a pay-per-view, and then it decides whether or not, like a SmackDown or a Raw pay-per-view. Now that brings a different dynamic to the brand extension also and stuff. I just don't like the idea of too many titles waters down the entire title contention and title picture and stuff. I really hate that.
Okay.
Now, if they didn't have the two titles, do you think that would create a lot of bad feelings when it comes to the people doing house shows? Because if you have two house shows and only one title, it might hurt the draw of the town that doesn't have the title on it. So I could see that leading to some hard feelings amongst the people that are on the house shows trying to draw money.
Then I would suggest that what you do is you push your Intercontinental and United States titles as the titles for the individual shows.
Exactly. Thank you, Cav. Which is what the Intercontinental title was originally designed for, was for the house show, the B house shows is what they sent the Intercontinental champion on, and then the WWE champion was on all these bigger house shows.
Yeah, but they're trying to position Raw and SmackDown to be equals. And if you have one show with the U.S. title as the main title and the other show with the WWE Championship as the main title, then the one show is going to be a lesser.
My solution to this would be, we need to make the WWE Championship exclusive. If you want to see that title defended, you better buy a WWE Network subscription, because that's the only place the champion is ever going to defend that title. So that's where you see it there. And I would balance it as, whoever is the champion, he defends it on his show against a number one contender 1 month, and whoever the winner is from that one defends it against the number one contender from the other show the next month. And if the other show's guy happens to win it, then he'll defend it against his guy again the next month.
But that negates what we just talked about with house shows. The champion's got to be, on one of the house shows.
That's why
we could spend hours discussing this.
Well, that's why I said promote the U.S. and the Intercontinental Championships as your championship for each show, and put that on each house show. And you put that over hard. This is what all the guys are fighting for. I mean, because if you think about it, with other professional sports organizations, you don't have two top titles in a promotion. You don't have two UFC World Heavyweight Champions, unless you get an instance where somebody's injured and then you create an interim one. But you don't have one split up, even though UFC runs bunches of different shows.
But they have a bunch of different weight classes,
Yeah.
As I said, we could talk about this for hours. Let's go ahead and move on. There's one other subject before we get our next guest on that I wanted to bring up to you guys. Last night on Raw, they had two enhancement talent matches. The first one was Nia Jax took on, I don't remember her name, but she did a great job. What was that?
Brittany Blake.
She did a great job for what she was supposed to do. And then in the match with Braun Strowman, he took on James. Do you guys remember his last name?
I think it was like Ellsworth or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And they even gave him time to do a promo at the beginning of the match. What did you guys think about the use of enhancement talent on Raw last night? Go ahead, Will.
Me, myself, first of all, I love the idea of using enhancement talent. It gives the local guys something to strive for. It definitely gives them a look that they wouldn't have got. It gives them exposure that they wouldn't have gotten without being in WWE programming. I do feel that if you're going to use enhancement talent and some of the local guys and stuff that's in the area and stuff, then they should look more competitive. As soon as you saw the guy that Braun Strowman was wrestling and stuff, you immediately knew that this guy was going to get beat. And I'm pretty sure, and I know for a fact, especially in Pittsburgh, that there are guys out there who are just as big, if not bigger than Braun Strowman, who it would be a more convincing matchup. Don't just give us these small guys that we know are going to lose and stuff in 45 seconds. At least make the quote-unquote enhancement talent, at least make them competitive. At least give us a competitive 2 to 3 minute match. You can have a very good 3-minute match on TV. I've done it on indie shows where I've had 3-minute matches and stuff, and they were very competitive, and the fans enjoyed it. Don't give us, these really small, pasty, pale guys and stuff who, although they may be hard workers and stuff, as soon as you see them on TV that they're going to lose. I think that we're way past that when it comes to professional wrestling. Give us competitive enhancement talent matches at least.
Yeah, but that's kind of the point of having a James Ellsworth on there, because he is so tiny. It makes Braun Strowman look even huger than he actually is. And who knows? Maybe once they keep progressing this storyline, maybe they'll have him take on local talent all over and start get bigger and bigger and bigger guys, and maybe finally we'll have somebody that will shock the world, a Milan Miracles type situation. So who knows? Who knows? What are your thoughts, Sign Guy?
I enjoy when they do it. Maybe not like entire shows of it anymore, because I don't think that'll work in this day and age, but when you're trying to get somebody over and you're trying to build them up, if you bring in the local independent guys and let them do that for the stars, it's going to just make your signed contracted talent look better than if they're in there against someone else that maybe isn't pushed hard, but they have enough of a name from being with WWE that it's not a true enhancement match. Your contracted guys aren't going to have the same effect necessarily that the local independents would have, because they're able to go out there and do nothing but get destroyed and sell for the guy for 45 seconds to 2 minutes. So I think they're more effective in that. And surprisingly did it in the women's match, I thought. You rarely see them use a independent female for an actual match. I don't know if I've ever seen them do that, but sometimes you get these independent guys that can make a bigger name for themselves, get better looks, make money on the independents, offer their little bit of notoriety from the WWE TV. So it's a win-win scenario, I think. So I don't see a issue with it, and like Zane was saying, when you have someone that's smaller like that and can bump around and make a guy look like he's an absolute killer, that's just going to make your guy look that more impressive to the audience. So I don't think it has to be the biggest, most jacked up guys on the independents in there all the time. It doesn't have to be the most technical guys that you can find on the independents. It really is a case-by-case scenario each time they do it, I think. I think they have to see who they want to build, find someone that's going to help build that person and tell the proper story, and then go to the independent level and find who out there best can get that story told. Whether it's a big guy.
I did some research on Britt Baker, and she's at Real Britt Baker. She is a professional wrestler out of Pittsburgh, and she's also a dental student. So I wish her very well in her career. What were you going to say, Will?
I was going to say, of course, like both of you guys are saying, oh, you want somebody to make Braun look, like a huge monster. Me, myself, personally, I think that he'll look better. Let's say, for instance, they put him in the ring against Drew. Now, everybody in the local area knows that Drew Skills is a beast. He is a monster of the Midwest and stuff. And you put him in with Braun Strowman, who we automatically know from looking at him that he's huge. You put him side by side with Drew, he's going to look even bigger, which means you'll say he's bigger than Drew, so he's going to look huge anyway. So, you can compare with Drew Skills is a big guy. This guy's bigger than Drew. Oh, shit. And even then, like I said, him and Drew can have a 3 to 4 minute match. He still gets over on Drew. It's not necessarily a squash match, but it's not a competitive match. Drew gets over by being in the ring with him and gets more notoriety. Braun gets, he gets over and stuff because he actually beat a legitimate local guy that the fans love. The same thing with Nia and stuff. She's first of all, she's Samoan and she comes from the Samoan family tree. So she's a big lady and she's very physically strong and stuff. Her being up on some, and I hate to use the term, some little Barbie girl or whatever, is not going to really, in my opinion, doesn't really get over with me unless they're going to do with her what they started to do with Awesome Kong, and have her, be the anti-Barbie girl where she's going to get beating up on all the divas and stuff, then I'll get over with that gimmick. But if they're just having her wrestle small little girls and stuff and beating them up without any kind of story behind it, I just can't support that.
All right, well, that's fair. I'm going to disagree. I think that we need to see it play out and see if they continue with it. But I enjoyed it last night. And update from our producer Killikev. Britt Blake is former CZW Medal of Valor champion, and she's one of the top women in the promotion. So maybe we need to book her. I thought she did a great job last night. All right, Killikev, do you want to give our guest? This is the Undisputed Wrestling Show on Angry Marks Podcast Network. You can check out our upcoming guests, including next week. We've got Wildcat Wendell Cooley and one of my favorite guys, the supervillain Joseph Schwartz, will be on with us next week. So really looking forward to that. But you can check us out on the UndisputedWrestlingShow.weebly.com. You can check out our future guests. You can check out all of our archive shows. So definitely hit that up and follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook and all that good stuff. So, Mr. Kevin, Killikev, can you give us a call to our next guest, please?
Salam alaikum. How you doing?
Doing very well. Well, I will give you a proper introduction here on the Undisputed Wrestling Show here on the Angry Marks Podcast Network. We are happy to have with us the beast from the Middle East, the Yemenian maniac, Diafullah, the butcher, Dobashi. Dobashi, welcome to the show. The beast from the Middle East.
The beast from the Middle East, the Yemeni maniac, modern day Sheikh Diafullah, the butcher, Dobashi.
You are all that. Well, Dobashi, since it's your first time here on Undisputed, you want to give the listeners a little bit of background on what exactly brought you into the professional wrestling business.
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure. Anytime I get some airtime, thank you. What was the question again? What brought me into professional wrestling? What got me into it? Or it's always been a dream. When I moved into the United States really young, I remember watching Portland wrestling, came on about 11:30 at night. My cousin Abdullah used to come to the house, rest in peace. And I was hooked. And then one day, we got cable. And the first time I saw Georgia Championship Wrestling is when Ted DiBiase got power drive by the Freebirds on the concrete and busted his neck, and Tommy Rich made the save, and I was hooked ever since.
In your career, you've wrestled against a lot of people that appeared on Georgia Championship Wrestling. The first time you got to wrestle someone that you discovered on cable when you were first getting into wrestling, what was going through your head at that point?
Wow, surreal. I mean, it's just living the dream, you know. I think one of the highlights and I always remember is Abdullah the Butcher. Me and Chief out of Kula Kula was feuding best of 13. You know, we were featured PWI and all that. And, Abby, well, let me back up. Back in the early 2000s, I wrestled for a promoter named Dennis Allen, rest in peace, at the MIA Sports Arena. And the first time wrestling for that promoter, I wrestled Chris Sabin in front of like 5,000 to 7,000 people. And I remember coming into the arena, and you know, I've been doing my Sheik gimmick for, you know, a while, and I remember what's his name, the original Sheik's son, Ed Fairhot.
Ed George?
What's that?
Captain Ed George?
Yeah. Well, he's a dick. Original Sheik, much respect for. The guy you just mentioned, he's a dick. That's a whole nother story. Kevin Sullivan knows what I mean, the whole story. I vented to him. Dennis Allen was an awesome man, kind-hearted. People took advantage of him. But anyways, besides the point, so I get to the arena, and Dennis Allen, he was the mayor of a little city outside of Flint. I'm sorry, I can't remember the township. But he's like, yeah, he's going to be my next star. And, you know, that was right before TNA got really big. They were doing weekly pay-per-views. I mean, Monty Brown was there, AJ Styles, Sandman, you know, just ongoing. And I remember coming in, and Junior was like, you can't use your gimmick. We already got Sabu. And Dennis Allen was like, well, his gimmick's totally different. Nothing like Sabu, you know. No, he can't do it. So, had to go get some, you know, got some regular gear. And I remember wrestling Chris Sabin at 104 temperature that night. And, anyways, I go back into the dressing room, and I was sharing it with, I think Disco Inferno was in there, Rock and Roll Express, Abdullah the Butcher, and Kevin Sullivan. And I remember Abdullah was like, oh, you're Yemen? I go, yeah. And he goes, let me see your gimmick. I put on my gimmick, you know. And he's like, you're coming out with me. I said, what are you talking about? You're coming out with me. And I said, why? You know, I'm going to get some. He goes, don't worry about it. You're coming out with me. And I remember I went out with Abdullah and brought me out there in my gimmick and stuff. And I was, you know, came out there sort of like his manager or whatever. I just listened to him, and ever since then, me and Abby was close. He took me under his ring, and then Kevin Sullivan. Ever since then, got to pick his brain. I mean, he always told me to call him, pick his brain at any time, and he has one of the, you know, greatest minds of professional wrestling. Sorry, I'm kind of long-winded, but I try to give you the short version.
Now, you, in the last several months, have come up with your own podcast, Dobashi's Radio Takedown, which is not $9.99 but always free. What led to you deciding to get into that aspect of the business?
Well, first of all, I want to give credit to you, Sign Guy. Thanks for helping me out. As a matter of fact, the very first time I did a test show on your Turnbuckle Turmoil, I want to say thank you for that. I always remember that. But what made me get into it is, you know, I just like to entertain. When I promoted, when I first got into business back in '92, I was on KLAY radio out of Lakewood. I had my own radio show back then, a weekly on terrestrial radio called Ringside Ticket. Luscious Johnny Graham was co-host, and you know, we do the weekly show, and that's how I promoted wrestling events also. So that kind of brought back memories, and you know, big fan of your podcast, and you know, I listen to a few others, and I people have said I had creative mind, and I'm still tweaking my show every week, every day, and I guess I like to entertain people, but I'm afraid the art of wrestling, might get lost, since the termination of territories and places for rookies to learn. And originally I had it where I wanted the show where people could have a platform and air their grievances or any problems, I'd want to help solve them, and that's basically why I did it. And then when I got, more into it, I just basically want to entertain. I want to entertain and the listeners any way I can, if I could help someone out promote something or get their name out. That's pretty much why I did it.
Now, a little known fact. Now, everybody can read about our match that we had in PWI. It was a 16 3/4 star classic that made Dave Metro weep at its greatness. But a lot of people do not know that in addition to this, on this show, everyone always refers to me as Kevin Sullivan's favorite referee. You were in the ring in a match, my very first time I had ever refereed any match ever.
Really? I didn't know that. Was that your first match?
My very first one. It was a cage match. Yourself and Sideshola versus the Sullivan clan, Dash Venture and Ron Von Buddha Sullivan. That was the first time. Now, when you think back to that match, did you ever think I would progress to the point of being Kevin Sullivan's favorite referee?
Yeah, why not? You did good for your first match. If I can't, I remember the match. But I remember you were in the reffing that match, and yeah, obviously you must have done pretty good, because if you did real bad, I definitely would remember it for sure.
Fair enough. Well, at this point, I want to pass things over to my co-host, the bearded wonder, Zane Paisley.
Well, thank you so much for coming on with us tonight, and
my pleasure.
So, what's been the main difference that you've noticed from just going from a wrestler to also a promoter?
Well, let me back up a little bit. When I got trained, the first person I contacted was Don Owens. And I had the letter somewhere. I got to look for it, but you could tell it was hand typed, the sentences were crooked, and he was trying to discourage me, to become a professional wrestler. And he was going in telling how the wrestlers needed a second job, and he was really trying to discourage me. So I was like, screw that. I want to be a wrestler. So then talked to Offa and Sika, was going to go down to Pennsylvania and to do their school. And then after that, I got a hold of the Malenko school, and I was pen pals with Phyllis Lee Malenko, Dean Malenko's mom. And I was about to go. I believe they had a school in Florida, and they were opening another one. I got to find those letters. I think it was in Iowa or Idaho. I can't remember where they were going to open up another school. And they were telling me that pretty much it would include room and board, and if I graduated, they was going to have me go out to wrestle for Otto Watts promotion. And I think that was, I might be wrong. Where would that be, sign guy? What, Germany or someplace like that?
Yeah, that'd be
I remember.
Germany.
Yeah. So I was going to do that, but I was like young and, family had businesses and stuff. And then I met Johnny Graham, and anyways, got trained. I'll speed up a little bit. And back in the time, Athletic Commission was so freaking corrupt. And there was no wrestling in the Tacoma area, and Don Owens pretty much gave the reins to Sandy Barr, and no one came up here, and it's like, there was no wrestling. So my parents ended up getting their promoter's license, and, I wrestled up in Canada and stuff also. But anyways, got the promoter's license and start running, and I had a bunch of things against me. As soon as I ran the first show at the bingo hall, I drew between 500 and 700 people. There was no wrestling in Tacoma for ages. And if you go look on YouTube, type in Playboy Buddy Rose breaks the ring, the UIWA ring. That was a whole nother story, a whole nother episode. But it was Buddy Rain versus Buddy Rose. Buddy Rose took a bump and just the whole ring collapsed. Shoot. And anyways, so then fought the commission. I made the magazines because Stan Nakarada at the time, rest in peace. There was rumors he's in with the mob, and then Don Owens and Dutch Savage then would grease the commission palms, hands, and I have the actual audio tapes where Buddy Rose, Ed Moretti, and a few others. They even had a kickboxing promotion come with me to the commission hearing, fighting them. It was crazy. So I kind of did things a little backwards. I promoted and then got into wrestling, or I promoted and wrestled at the same time. And then, then I start, going into wrestling. I moved to the Midwest and I wrestled full time for a few years. And, so I went on a little rant. I kind of lost my train of thought, but that's, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Just the differences of going from a wrestler to a promoter.
Less headache. Less headache. Everyone asked if I was going to start promoting again, but I just like to wrestle. I mean, there's a lot of headache when it comes to promoting. A lot of wrestlers try to kiss your ass, and a lot of fake people, and there's a lot of good wrestlers, but basically less headache, and you don't lose as much money when you wrestle.
Well, tell us about your Pro Wrestling Tee store.
Pro Wrestling Tee store. I got Diafullah Dobashi. There's a promotion actually you're going to be starting out called Sasquatch Pro Wrestling. You go to SasquatchProWrestling.com. There's a few T-shirts there, and then in my store, and then Dobashi's Radio Takedown podcast shirt. And buy them up. Support a brother. Buy the podcast shirt. There's ProWrestlingTees.com. Diafullah Dobashi. Diafullah Dobashi.
Well, why did they decide on Sasquatch Pro Wrestling? I know you're up in the Pacific Northwest, but does that hold a special meaning to you?
Yeah. I'm helping a guy, pretty much advising him. I'm starting a promotion, and guys big into Sasquatch, and he basically wants to do something different, put the sports back into entertainment. The promoter's kind of kayfabe right now. He don't want, come out until all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted. But it's going to be like over the top, not over the top gimmicks, but like gimmicks like back in the 90s, Brutus Barber Beefcake and all them. There's going to be some good gimmicks and good wrestling.
Well, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. So, and it's going to be, like it said, they said they want to put sports back into entertainment. So, maybe, come back on. We'll talk more about it. I'll get the actual owner to come on and, talk more about it. But they have a website, SasquatchProWrestling.com.
All right. Well, I'm going to kick it over to North Carolina's finest, the Southern gentleman, the incredible Huck, William Huckabee. Whoa, what do you got for him?
Well, once again, first of all, thank you for being a guest on the show. My question,
my pleasure.
I've got to ask you the hard-hitting, controversial questions and stuff, man.
Especially
with this being the election year, and with terrorism and religion and everything, and making headlines all over the place and stuff, are you ever worried that you're going to get the kind of backlash that Muhammad Hassan got in WWE as far as being an Arab American and stuff? Are you ever worried about that kind of backlash?
Not really. This whole religion thing, I'm this Diafullah Dobashi is my shoot name. I'm really, my heritage is Yemeni from, Yemen. I'm Muslim, and, I don't know if I'm kind of veering off a little, but, to me, religion, okay, I've been always saying religion, there's pretty much one God, and there's a lot of different paths to that God, and no matter what you believe in, and pretty much every religion promotes peace, and I remember when Muhammad Ali passed away, and I was listening to one of his interviews I never heard before, and he pretty much said, and like he was a true Muslim, and he was like, Islam, you respect all religions, and it's pretty much, it all promotes peace, but every religion, when it comes to Christian, Jewish, or Muslim, Catholic, there's all these extremists, and I think the media has a big part doing it, a big propaganda. If anytime someone's Middle Eastern and there's a shooting or something, they say they focus on the terrorism, Look at Timothy McVeigh and a few others, they don't say, or the KKK, they don't say, oh, that's a Christian terrorist, And let me tell you this, when me and Chief Atakula was feuding, and we're doing one of our best at 13 up in Mount Airy, Pennsylvania. North Carolina. I still saw prejudice there. I remember going into Kmart, got traded different. We were looking for Chief was looking for some American flags, and I walked in. And I'm always in my gimmick. I had my turban on, and I asked him if they had any flags, and I guess he was assuming Middle Eastern flags or something, and he just looked at me and goes, we don't carry them kind of flags here. And he just kind of shoved me off. And I'm kind of hard of hearing him and they were kind of ribbing me. You're going to let him talk like that to you? I said, what are you talking about? And Chief was pretty kind of getting pissed off. And we found the flags, and I went up and I confronted the guy. I said, what kind of flags did you think I was saying, And he just kind of looked at me, and then I remember talking to a couple other guys. I don't know if you heard of Centron Payne, the player. He's a black guy. He used to be a professional tennis player, and he's a real good worker. And he told me you got to watch it up in those parts. So we had a hardcore match. No lie, we had a spot where I took the American flag, and the spot was I wasn't really gonna light it on fire, but I went to light it. And it was, I even got scared. The first time I ever really got scared, getting heat. This was like white heat. They just looked at me and they were like, that sand nigger isn't going to do it. No, he's not. Yeah. And it got totally quiet oh yeah. So, So I don't know if I answered your question. I don't think I'd get any backlash. If the promoters were smart, they would, the one other time too, right after 9/11, I was in Pennsylvania, and they didn't want me to wrestle as a heel, and I went out and sang the national anthem, and I turned an instant face, and then I had a valet called Genie, and I was supposed to come out to I Dream of Genie, and I was so over that the promoter forgot the CD, and the whole crowd was going do 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 do. As we're dancing to the ring. So I was kind of long-winded. Hopefully I answered your question.
No. Let's say that area that you wrestled in my area, of course I live in North Carolina, and I've worked for Rick Diesel before. That was, yeah. and trust to believe that Armory and Mount Airy and stuff, which for my co-host, Mount Airy is legitimately the home of Mayberry. The Andy Griffith show was actually filmed in Mount Airy.
I ate at that Aunt B's restaurant.
Oh man, that place is so awesome. But get back to my story. I was gonna say, even me, not being a black guy and stuff, Mount Airy was actually probably the first place where I actually felt threatened and in danger of my life as far as professional wrestling goes. It was me and a guy who had kind of a gay gimmick, and we're sitting there laughing, okay, who are they gonna cheer for, the black guy or the gay guy? Because you look out of the crowd and all you see is camouflage and NASCAR shirts and stuff, man. Yeah. And as soon as I went out there, I got called probably every racial slur in the book, and a couple of that I didn't even know.
I believe it.
And the intermission and stuff, and of course I was the heel in the intermission. You know, Rick and Tim Dolan, of course, you know Tim.
Yeah.
They came up to
came
up to me at intermission, and they were like, "Man, look, you might want to leave because they're talking about hurting you after the show." And so you know, so I had to get dressed. I didn't even get changed. I just like was in my gear and just took off.
It took off.
But brings me to my next question and stuff. Because you know, especially with wrestlers of your ethnicity and stuff and your religion and stuff, most wrestling promoters are so short-sighted and stuff that they only know how to put you in one category. They only know how to make you the extremist. They only know how to make you the heel and stuff. Did you ever get tired of being typecasted in that role? Or is that something that you're very familiar with, something that you're very comfortable with doing?
Actually, I'm very comfortable doing. I mean, Sign Guy can vouch for me. I got to the point where I could take me 10 minutes to start a match, get the crowd wild up. I'm comfortable doing it. Easy.
All right, well, you pass it back to Sign Guy stuff. I know time is running short with us and stuff. I know Sign Guy and stuff. I have a lot of questions to ask. So, Sign Guy, what do you have for our guests?
All right. Well, Dobashi, you're not too active anymore here in the Pacific Northwest per se, but can you tell us a little bit about what you might have planned with Sasquatch Pro Wrestling once that thing gets fully operational and underway?
Well, one reason I haven't been too active, there's a couple. There's one reason I got to kayfabe this. It's a project I'm working on with a producer out of Hollywood in LA, and you should be hearing something about this in the next couple months. I can't say anything about it, so I've been kind of laying low, just laying low. I guess I don't want to say too much more about it because I don't want to get in trouble and get kicked off the project. But so, and then another reason I haven't wrestled in around here in the Northwest, I'm not a sellout, and I don't wrestle for free. You know, I help someone out. I don't ask for an arm and a leg, but I believe every wrestler should get paid. I'm not a volunteer wrestler. Me and my peers, Chief, we talk about this all the time. You know, we're not volunteer wrestlers. We are professional wrestlers. And I think a lot of these guys, that's what's wrong with the business. The boys ain't sticking up for each other. And you get a lot of these guys just whoring themselves out, ruining it for the professionals that want to get paid. So, you know, I stick to my guns, and I should be in Detroit end of August or beginning of September with, I got a brain fart, with the Calhouns. I'm sorry, I forgot the acronyms, but, and that's for Sasquatch Wrestling, Sasquatch Pro Wrestling. I'm pretty much helping the promoter and, pretty much his advisor. So I really can't really elaborate too much on that, but there should be a date announced soon. In the third week of August, I'll have an announcement where they're going to have their first show, and hopefully we can come back on and talk about it.
Now, over there on Dobashi's Radio Takedown Network, which is not $99 a month, but always free, you've got not only yourself, but you have Up to the Task with Kevin Sullivan, and you have Chief Atakula's new show, which I believe is still a work in progress, The War Party.
Yes.
What can you tell us about the network as a whole, and how did you get everybody on board? Because it's a lot of content you're turning out. You got a lot of big names involved doing their own shows on your network.
Well, I know Sullivan and John and Emily, they weren't happy where they were at, you know, and I only have enough time to do a show once a week. Matter of fact, this Friday I'm going to have the Hood Slam resident heroine, Brittany Wonder on. She'll be my guest this Friday. And basically I have all this time, and they wanted a platform, and I said, well, let me just start a network and has some good shows on there. That's pretty much how that started. So there was a little hiatus with the Kevin Sutherland Up to the Task, the producers. They had a baby. They got a big guest lined up this coming up week, and the first guest for Chief Atakuku's War Party is going to be the CZW World Heavyweight Champion. That's going to be his first guest.
Now, for your particular program, you've interviewed quite a few people, everybody from Thunder Rosa, who sings on your show, to the Chief and his partner Tiny Love, to myself, to your cousin Mustafa. A lot of people in there.
Wait. Mustafa, wait. That Mustafa's not my cousin. I have to get that straight. But the other two were my cousins, but not Mustafa. But anyways, go ahead.
Well, I feel badly for Mustafa now, but what's been the most surprising thing that you've learned while doing that?
Well, I think the most jaw-dropping episode is the one when I had Savia Vega on for the first time, and he went into detail about Bruiser Brody's death and how he basically said who did it and how he deeply felt about it, because him and Bruiser Brody were like really close, best of friends. I think that was, I was like, my jaw dropping, how just, I was shocked he even said it, because he's in Puerto Rico right now. Oh, and speaking of Savia Vega, remember that promotion, WWL, I think it was, that was ran by that Money Mark?
Yeah.
Savia Vega bought it.
Really?
He's the new owner. Yep, and that's a shoot. I got a phone call from him and Chief. Yep. He'd be another good guest on your podcast.
Now, you bring up Puerto Rico, and you and Chief have gone down to Puerto Rico a few times. I know you had quite a bit of heat, like Huck was talking about. You carried a lot of heat, and down in Puerto Rico, it's a whole different world down there. Can you tell us some of the close calls that you suffered in Puerto Rico?
Yes. Well, let me tell you about Puerto Rico. When I went there, that was it was like wrestling back in the 80s. We roll in there, you're like a rock star. They still put promos of me and Chief on CBS Puerto Rico and WAPA TV. And I was shocked. Got there, they fed us. I had so much heat because I was telling them pretty much they were, I said something like, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I was at this festival and it was thousands of people, and we were on this dock for TV for this anniversary show, and I told them that they were second-class citizens and they weren't good enough to be an actual United States, a state. And if they want to be, part of the United States, so that speak English. And I remember, my gimmick that Abdullah gave me, the fork, a lady actually grabbed it when I was on the ground and threw it in the Caribbean Sea. And they hated me there because when I did that thing where I attacked Abdullah in the restaurant, they were throwing batteries. A couple of the guards would tell me to watch out because someone wanted to shank me. It was some legit heat. But the food was great. There were some smart marks, and then there were some people that still just believed. It was crazy. It was like, to me, that's probably what the 80s felt like in the United States, back in the day, NWA, Great American Bash era,
I take it that you were not shanked, though.
No. Matter of fact, at that show, Mendoza was on the card. He was there visiting his mother, and so I had a single match with Peter Bad Romance the night before, and that's the night I almost got shanked. And then the second night, I tag team with Mendoza against I forgot, some mass wrestler, something number 5, and then Peter Bad Romance. Peter Bad Romance now is the Carlos Colon light heavyweight champion or something like that. cruiserweight champion or something.
Well, I'm going to pass you back over to the wondered King Paisley.
Feels like I'm getting the train ran on.
Well,
no.
Once again, thanks so much for coming on with us. How can our listeners follow you and follow your podcast? And what's your social media situation?
Oh yeah, basically, if you go to www.theradiotake.network.com, that's theradiotake.network.com. It has all the links on there. Follow me on Twitter, Dobashi RT. Then Facebook. That's the easiest way. Go to the radiotakedownnetwork.com and it has all the links, all my stuff on there.
Well, awesome. And
then go to iTunes or Blog Talk and look up Dobashi's Radio Takedown or the Radio Takedown Network.
And what do you have to say to your fans that are listening right now?
Oh gosh, thanks for being patient. Remember, I could show up at any place at any time. And just keep your eyes open really, really soon because I could show up anywhere. I even could show up again at behind Sign Guy. And I just want to shukran, kulluhum fi Yemen, anta tamam, shalok kavid hazil. And, that's pretty much it. That, I've been quiet. It's been quiet by choice, but Sign Guy, you already know, I used to be that promo whore, and that's about to come out pretty soon.
Well, we can't wait to hear about all your ongoings with your secret projects with Sasquatch Pro Wrestling and with your big Hollywood guy. So we'd love to hear back from you again as soon as you can talk about those things. Yeah,
definitely. And about the Hollywood project, it's yes, definitely come back. Like I said, it's yeah, I just I can't say too much right now, but, of course I'm going to say something on my show, but besides that, I'll be on there and I'll blurb it all out on your show and yours too, Sign Guy.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on with us tonight. You have a fantastic evening.
Oh, and one more thing. The Radio Takedown Network is not $99. The Radio Takedown Network is absolutely free. And I am not a terrorist. I'm just a terror in all of professional wrestling. Allahu Akbar. Push.
Thank you so much. Have a fantastic evening.
Wow, that Mother Husser really scared you there for a second, didn't he, Zane?
He did. He threw me off. Woo! Well, I'm on the UndisputedWrestlingShow.weebly.com, and I'm checking out our guests next week. We've got two awesome guests, USWA, Puerto Rico veteran, Wildcat. Wendell Cooley will be with us, and one of my favorite guys, one of my favorite bad guys, that is, the supervillain, Joseph Schwartz. He is the current reigning and defending National Wrestling Alliance United States champion. He just won that title earlier this week, and he is also the 2016 IWA Mid-South Prince of the Deathmatch. So he'll be going on to compete in the King of the Deathmatch tournament. So looking forward to talking with Wildcat Wendell Cooley and Joseph Schwartz next week. Sign Guy, remind everybody what you got going on. This coming weekend, you're not really doing much. You're traveling to Idaho soon.
Yeah, not this coming Saturday, but the following. I got the big trip. I got my Idaho debut for Wrestle Club, and then the next day I'll be in Portland, so I'm taking a few days off so I can get prepared and ready for that, maybe study the Idaho Athletic Commission regulations so I'm fully prepared.
Awesome. And Will, you've got 9 matches in 8 days or 8 matches in 9 days? What do you got coming up?
Oh yeah, man, it's probably going to end up being close to 10 matches in less than 2 weeks. But this weekend, like I said, Friday I have PWS in Hubert, North Carolina, me and James Drake versus the Ugly Ducklings. Saturday we'll be at Wally Russell in Cornelia, Georgia, at the Church of Southern Wrestling. It'll be me versus, wrestling's only professional gymnast, Penny Lou Retton. And then Sunday, I'll be at USIWF and stuff in Kernersville, North Carolina. Getting back to the wrestling fans and stuff, and the IWC, performing at a child's birthday party, which, for the record, is actually my first time. I've never actually done a kid's birthday party before, so hopefully I get paid in birthday cake.
Yes. Hashtag birthday cake payday.
Zane, are you with the urban legend of the birthday party show at the Marat years ago?
No, what was that?
In Indianapolis several years ago, probably, I'd say about 12 years ago, there was a birthday party for the son of a pretty prominent lawyer in Indianapolis. The guy brought in...
Stanley Kahn?
Yeah, Stanley Kahn.
Nice.
Sometimes the name says it all.
Yes.
And he brought in a bunch of named talent that wasn't affiliated with WWE at the time, like WCW stars, ECW stars. Put him in a battle royal, paid him huge money. That was the only match on the card for this birthday party. And the boys were fighting each other to see who would be able to get eliminated first. They were trying to get in, get out, get paid huge for it. Rob Van Dam came in. They had to pay Rob Van Dam a lot of money. And at the time he was hurt, so all he could do was just a short in-ring promo, and that was it. It's still legendary amongst a lot of the people in the Indiana wrestling community.
Do you know about this, Zane?
No, I've not heard of this. It was just a guess about it, which lawyer it was, because he's the most prominent. He had all sorts of commercials on TV, and his name was Stanley Kahn. He's still around. As Sign Guy said, his tagline on his commercials was, "Sometimes a name says it all," and his name was Kahn. So it was just very random. But no, I will ask around. Would Don Basher know about this birthday party?
It's possible that he would. He might know. I bet Dan Garza knows all about it. Jason Ayers actually was the referee for that battle royal. He was probably 3 or 4 years into his career. I think he was doing Ring of Honor at that point, but still working a lot of Indiana dates at the same time.
All right, well, we need to get Diamond Dan on to explain this story. He'd be a great guest anyway. But we do need to wrap up. I will be at All-Star Pro Wrestling at the Morristown Derby Days this weekend. Should be a great show. Dylan Bostic is headlining the show. You can get more information about that at MorristownDerbyDays.com. So for Will Huckabee, for Sign Guy, this is the Bearded Wonder, Zane Paisley. Have a fantastic week. Oh, also special thanks to our awesome on-air producer, Killa Kev, and our executive producer, the Prophet Rick Craig. So for everybody, have a fantastic week.